Hey everyone, it's Kellene Vale today with Accelerated Automation. You don't get Mariah Gates, you get me instead. We set Mariah Gates on a well-deserved little getaway. We're happy to be here today though with Peter Vitali of Lead Clinic. He is the CEO and founder, and we've got an exciting topic for you today. Some ways that you can really make a difference in your agency. So Peter, thank you so much for being with us today. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to your users and followers about lead generation for insurance agents.
So let's just dive right in. Tell me what you're most passionate about with Lead Clinic.
Yeah, so by way of background, I was an insurance agent for many years. Actually, most of my professional career, I owned and operated insurance agencies, Allstate agency, independent agency, and during that, right, I purchased a lot of leads, a lot of live transfer phone calls, consumer initiated inbound phone calls. And I always felt that it was, I wasn't really getting accurate answers from the lead, the what I call the usual suspects of lead generation. And I was very skeptical. And so I did a deep dive into lead generation to become a more sophisticated lead buyer for my own insurance agency. And that turned into this complete passion project of helping other insurance agents. In fact, we don't even write insurance policies in our independent agency anymore because we're solely focused on lead generation for other insurance agents. And the reason why that is because it was just fascinating to me. And I felt that I could deliver a truly better lead buying experience for insurance agents and help small business owners like myself. So that's what I'm most passionate about is helping small business owners, helping them grow their agencies with just honesty and not, lies or deception, which may not be what other lead gen people are doing, but sometimes it feels that way because of a lack of transparency. So really having this transparent approach to everything we do, I think is the difference maker in what makes Lead Clinic. And that's what I'm most passionate about.
Well, what do you think are the biggest flaws in the other options that are out there for insurance agents that they should be aware of?
Yeah, so I think the biggest issues always in lead generation always come down to lack of transparency, and it's not it's certainly not the account executive or the person that you're interfacing with, but oftentimes they don't know what's going on in the back end. So I'll give an example. You know, early on in my days of lead generation, as a user of lead generation, I would turn on my leads at 10 o'clock in the morning, and we would get flooded with inbound leads. And the questions I always ask myself is this person actually filling out this lead form at this moment in time? Or is this being filled out hours or days or weeks ago and being transmitted to me? And so that is one issue, I think. And I remember, literally calling out on leads myself and literally just having this really honest conversation with a guy one day. And you could tell he was in the car. You could hear the noise, the road noise in the background. And I said, listen, did you just fill out this form, this request for insurance? He said, no. I said, did your spouse maybe do it? Maybe she did it and she's at home or at work or something. He's like, no, I'm not married. I said, you're right. It doesn't show any other info on here. And he had filled out this request weeks ago.
Hmm.
And so I thought, maybe this guy's just kind of lying to me, but probably not because I
What's
can
the
hear
motivation, right?
he's in the car. I can hear he's in the car. Sometimes people lie to you and they'll say, they're just antisocial or weren't expecting a phone call. But this guy was really like a really cool guy. And so I started having these conversations with people and they were like, no, 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 like this was months ago or weeks ago or something. And I just got a really funny feeling about that. I was like, this is weird. And so I think that's really one of the issues is lead generators and aggregators generally do this is they'll buy a lead and then hold on to it for a while and then sell it at a later point in time. And I think That's not good for the insurance agent. That's certainly not good for the customer's experience. It's not what the customer's expecting. It's not what the insurance agent's expecting. So I think just, us being like really transparent about that is like, we're tracking when the user hits the submit button. We're not sending that to you more than, I think right now we do 500 seconds. If otherwise we just don't buy it. It's just, you can expect to get our leads in real time. And at the end of the day, insurance agents have no way to validate that, right? Besides me being honest. And that's the issue with my competitors. They may say, "Oh, these are real time data leads," but are they? I mean, you have to trust people a lot. And so, what I found is that that simply wasn't honest, not because the person who told me that wants to lie to me, but because maybe some back end, analyst or engineer in their system says, "Hey, we can make more money, buying this and then selling it to the max bidder tomorrow instead of tonight or today." And so I think that's really the biggest problem is I think there's a fundamental distrust between lead generators and insurance agents because of the lack of transparency, and just bringing transparency into the system, I think, is going to help, bridge that trust gap and will help us, be better. And I think the way we really do this and the way I look at this in our business is we measure our success based on the success of our clients. And, I don't look at how many leads we're selling a day or how much we're selling them for. I look to what is the average cost per sale for our clients. How much money do they have to give us for them to generate a household of insurance policies that they sell and that they generate revenue for their agency? And the more I can do to help that cost per sale number be lower and better, the more clients we'll get, the longer we'll keep our clients, and the happier everyone will be. It'll be a better consumer experience, better agent experience, and we serve value, in this position in the middle as lead generators. So that's kind of what we do, how we do what we do, and what our thought process and core philosophies and beliefs are in this business.
Yeah, that time sensitive nature of the lead. In fact, some of the research that we did earlier this year showed that if you can respond to a lead within 5 minutes, it makes you 21 times more likely to convert that lead. So if you're
Yeah.
getting leads that are 3 weeks old, I
Yeah.
mean, compound that. Your likelihood of getting something good out of that lead is nil. We pride
Yeah.
ourselves at accelerated automation of people being able to respond 73% faster than their competition when they get a lead. So we know the value of that. And we know that as a result of that, they're going to have a 58% greater increase in lead conversions. So you're
Yeah.
right, that time sensitive aspect of those leads being legitimate and being viable is so critical.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think that, that's why we love working with tech enabled insurance agencies, is because they can do things like that, to make things faster. And that, we live in a world where consumers expect everything really quick. And, when agencies can use technology to empower them to, do things to get speed faster and things more accurate, right? It's just going to drive a better experience for everyone. So we love working with tech-enabled insurance agents, because it truly delivers a better experience. They're going to get a higher ROI, which is just going to help, and that's a core part of what we do. We partner. We're selective about the agents that we work with, and we partner with ones that we think, one, we can make a difference with, and two, have the systems, processes, employees in place to really do this, because there's no benefit to us working with folks that aren't going to do that. There are some people who, companies out there who will. I just We're not going to light anyone's money on fire. It's just like, I'm not going to feel good about it. So we're not going to work with agents that don't have those processes and procedures in place to be successful. Because otherwise, that's what we're really doing. We're going to sell you a product that you can't effectively work. And so you're going to be wasting your money. We don't want to do that with anyone. So that's why we love working with like clients of yours, who understand automation and have these tools and processes in place, because it's so key to being successful with lead generation.
Yeah, the lead generation, and hear me out on this, the lead generation is pointless if you don't have processes, technology, and automation. If you don't have those three things in place, you're left behind, way behind. Yeah, I mean, we're not even talking dark ages, we're talking caveman. It's so critical because, like you said, so many people are so used to getting it now. If you have to wait 5 minutes in a fast food line, the drive-through, then there's a problem. You're huffing and puffing. You're not too happy about it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's
So
critical.
tell us what your secret sauce is, then, Peter.
I think we can really take the secret sauce down to one big thing and then a bunch of little things under it. But the one big thing is closing the feedback loophole, right? For forever. I'll go back to over a decade ago when I was an Allstate agent. I was skeptical about giving my disposition data on my leads I bought to the companies that sold them to me because I had no trust in them. And I thought, well, what are they going to do? I tell them I sell a policy. What good is that? What good does that do me? None that I can see. But what are the potential risks to me? And I'm like, well, 6 months from now, they're probably just going to remarket that person and try and sell that lead to someone else. And, I'm going to lose this policy on the back end. And so what we do is we've closed that feedback loophole. We require every one of our customers to give us disposition data on the leads they sell. And on the leads they quote, it's like non-negotiable with us because we have to know what's working and what's not working. We have a very sophisticated data analytics program that we've designed and implemented and use on the back end to figure out what each lead is worth based on a number of factors. And when I talk about these factors, they're not things like, is the person a homeowner? Is the person have 2 cars or 3 cars? Like that stuff's interesting, but it's not necessarily, those aren't the analytics we're applying. We're applying analytics like how long was the consumer on the website for? How fast did they fill out the form? Were they typing at words per minute that a human being can't type at because it's too fast and it's some sort of a bot filling out the form? Did the person peruse around the website for a long time before they started completing the form? Things like this, really metrics that no one else would have access to, unless you were in the lead generation business. And then we look at all of those and we say, all right, this is what a really intentful consumer looks like, and we try and get you more of that and less of what doesn't work. And then so that's how we handle. This is what I call like our distribution side, and then conversely, our supply side, right? People that we buy leads from or marketing agencies that we work with to generate our own leads, right? We help them by saying, hey, this is really good quality stuff, and we're going to pay you more for it. We're going to pay you up to what we believe it's worth because we want you to generate more of it. Because if we generate more of it, what happens? We have more of it to give to our insurance agent clients, and they have more good stuff to do better with. A lot of companies are, generators and aggregators of leads like we are. Even the biggest companies in the space, the publicly traded ones, right? They buy leads from everyone else as well, right? They generate their own leads. They buy leads from other people as well. And what oftentimes it seems to be, to me anyways, in those business models is that they try and squeeze as much margin or as much profit in that transaction as possible. And we take a little bit different approach where we're going to take the margin that we need to run our business to cover our expenses and to cover our planned profit. But we're not going to take any more than that, even if we can. We would rather give that money to the generator of that lead so they can invest more marketing dollars to generate more of those. And that's really, it's just being good partners on both sides of the equation, right? We're going to be good to our supply side partners, give them more money for quality stuff that they sell us. We're going to be good to our distribution partners by, monitoring the quality and giving them more of what works well for them. What works well for agency one may not work well for agency two. A lot of our clients are Allstate and Farmers agencies. And those operate a lot differently than an independent agency, let's say. And even Allstate agency to Allstate or Farmers to Farmers or State Farm to State Farm, they can operate very differently. And so we kind of do this personalized approach of, is this work for you? And if so, let's get you more, let's get you less. And So getting data back and analyzing that data methodically is what really separates us apart. I'll give you two examples. Literally an hour ago, generally as a rule of thumb, we require our clients 65 because our competitors will buy them, hold them, and sell them later anyways. So we're just honest and we're like, listen, if a really good lead comes in at 4 o'clock in the morning, we're going to sell it to you and we're going to send it to you right at 4 o'clock in the morning. And guess what? You're going to call it the next business day when you get in the office. It's going to be no different than if one of my competitors bought it, held it, and sold it to you at that time. We're just going to be honest about it with you. And so that's our general rule of thumb. And about an hour ago, I get email from a client and they're like, listen, we don't want leads on Saturdays or Sundays. Looked at their data, said, wow, in the past 180 days, they've sold very few. It was really outside of the normal for what we would expect them to sell on Saturdays and Sundays for leads they bought on Saturdays and Sundays. And like they're closed on Saturday and Sunday, but so are all of our other clients or most of all of our other clients. And they'll call them on Monday and they'll be successful. This agency wasn't. We said, we always follow the data. We're not going to force you to buy stuff that you're not going to convert because we follow the data. And then less than 20 minutes after I responded to that email, I get an email from a different client that says, hey, I want to do the same thing. I suspect that client one talked to client two and said, hey, Peter's willing to do this now. You should check into it. And that's fine. I'm all for transparency, but pulled the same numbers on clients, same report for client number two, and just send the email back and say, listen, I'm willing to evaluate this, but I'm even willing to do it for you. But Saturday leads are your highest close rate leads. Sunday leads are better for you than every other day, or better for you than Wednesday and Thursday leads, which are your worst performing. So if we shut off your best performing day and a day that's slightly above average, you're going to materially tank your results with us. I don't think we should do that. What do you think? Said, I think you're right, and please leave everything as it is. And so by analyzing data, having logical conversations with our clients, and showing them the data, that's our secret sauce. We have to know what works and what doesn't work. And when clients ask us to help us analyze their data, we look at a number of different things. And a client in Arizona reached out a couple of weeks ago and was like, listen, you guys were always performing as my best performing vendor. It's kind of gone down to like number two. What do you think we can do? And we looked and we said, wow, we see there's a big opportunity here because, you purchased a lot of auto insurance leads where the customers declared their prior insurance as Geico. You've quoted a lot of those people. You've sold virtually none of them. So we should just not sell you leads with customers who say they have Geico. And if we would have eliminated that over the last 60 days, we would have gone from X cost per sale to Y cost per sale. And it would have been much, much better. And so now we have that data and now it makes sense. And I said, the only thing that I'm always fearful of in these situations is carrier competitive dynamics change all the time, right? One carrier takes a rate increase, one takes a decrease, everyone's moving around. So what I propose is we leave this like this for like the next 60 days, but like maybe after that, we throw like 10 Geico leads per week in just to test and see maybe your competitive position against Geico got a heck of a lot better. And now by blocking Geico, we're materially hurting you. So it's like we always have to be in the data and testing. And just because something happens today doesn't mean it's going to stay the same way tomorrow. And we have to realize that carrier rating algorithms are extraordinarily complex and they change quite frequently. And especially in environments like we've had over the past few years with profitability challenges with carriers, especially in the personal lines world. Rates change fast, and you've got to be able to adapt. And by having the data set, what's going on, and that's really what's mission critical.
Yeah, I've been in marketing for nearly 2 decades now, and that data transparency is a must. You've got to have access to that data in order to make an impact, a positive one on your clients. So I love that you really embrace that data and are even a bit maniacal about it. I know also that with the lead generation, it's so easy for agents, as busy as they are, to not be as focused on the data. And sometimes it takes somebody like yourself to hold their hand and to say, hey, let's look at this. It turns out that Sundays are your best leads, whereas Wednesdays and Thursdays aren't so great. So that's fabulous that you do that for your clients. That's wonderful.
Yeah, we have to, and we look at you look at most personal lines agencies and the systems they use. The systems they use are not designed to show them this data at this level. One, because historically lead generation hasn't been very transparent, so they don't provide much data to the agents, and if their systems aren't helping them analyze this data, we had to build systems that do. And so we have a full suite of reporting products that we use internally. We're now making those available to all of our clients externally because we believe in transparency and we believe that we want them to see it. And we really like when our clients are engaged in the data with us. I'll be honest, we have a lot of clients that do stuff like set it and forget it. And that's fine because we're always in it and we'll make decisioning based on what we think is rational. But I would much rather work with clients who are really into the data with me because they may see something that we don't see and they may have a reason why something makes sense. I'll give you an example. Many of our captive agency clients are just not equipped. The carriers they represent are not equipped to write manufactured or mobile homes. It's not in their target market. And so, it's always a point of contention that they were like, Peter, I buy homeowners leads from you, but these people, the lead data says it's a single family home, but it's a manufactured home. Why is that? I'm like, well, the person's picking single family home. And so, in a couple of states, this was a really big concern with some of our clients. And I understood it. And I'm like, I just don't know how to solve it, And then I'm like, are these people lying about where they live? That doesn't really make sense. And I really just thought about it one night. It's not very profound, but it kind of makes sense. And it's like, at the end of the day, this consumer's filling out this form. Not like they're taking the ACT or the SAT. They're not reading each and every answer and figuring out which is the best answer, right? They're filling out a form. They're going to pick the first best answer. And if the first best answer is a single family home and they're not an insurance agent and they're not a contractor and they live in a manufactured home, let's say they're an auto mechanic, they live in a manufactured home, they don't know anything about construction, they don't know anything about insurance, and they're filling out this form. It says, what kind of home do you have? And the first answer is single family home. They're one family. That's their home. I mean, that's a pretty good answer. So they click it.
Yeah.
You can't fault that consumer and say they're lying or they're dishonest. Honestly, single family home is a stupid term. Every home is a single family home, I mean, yeah, people are literally I live in a townhouse. And so this is another unit connected to my home. I still believe my home's a single family home. Now, technically, it's a duplex, but to me, this is a single family home. I'm the only family who lives here. So it's a stupid term. And so we decided we could solve this problem with technology and say, okay, what can we do here? And so we said, hey, we can query property records in under a second. And we can analyze that property record response time in under a second. And we can say, hey, here's the address. Is this home a manufactured home? According to the property records. And if it is, we're just not going to buy that lead. We're not going to sell that lead. And that's how we solve that problem with technology. Everyone wanted to sit here and say the consumer is being dishonest. Well, consumer dishonesty. It's consumer dishonesty. It's not even consumer dishonesty. It's a stupid question. It's a stupid question from lead generators. It should be asked in a much better way, or it should be depicted with photographs like, here's my little brick home. Here's a duplex that looks like a duplex. Here's a manufactured home that looks like a manufactured home. Here's a condo that looks like a condo, a giant high rise that looks like a high rise. You could do it a better way. And so we said, hey, we're not going to be able to change every lead gen form in the ecosystem, even though we think they should be changed and they should be more logical, and we should I really just think it's a stupid question and it should be worded better, but we can't do that. So how can we solve this problem with technology? And that's what we did. And it made a material impact in the performance of homeowners insurance leads that we sold. And I think we implemented that maybe 9 or 10 months ago now. And so by getting feedback from our clients, And sometimes they're like, Peter, they say they have current insurance and they don't. Can't you implement the same technology? When I quote, in Allstate's quoting system or State Farm's quoting system, it tells me who they're insured with. I wish we could do that. We can't get access to those databases because they're contributory databases. So we don't have insurance policy data to contribute, so we can't pull out. So there are certain things that we wish we could solve with technology and we can't. But then there are the things that we can solve with technology, and that makes a material impact on the results for our clients, and that's cost effective to do it. And then we deploy those. And so the manufactured home is one that's doable and cost effective. The current insurance is one that's not doable because we can't get access to the data. And then there's stuff like driving records where it's available. It is, from a technology perspective, doable, but from a cost perspective, it doesn't make sense, right? If we pull driving records, that are going to cost somewhere between $12 and $20, that we pay to the government to get that driving record, on a lead that's on average, let's say $8, it's just too much cost to get what you're going to, and the value of that does not enhance the lead by the cost, right? The value doesn't go up by the cost that we have to pay. So those are the three things, how we separate ideas internally. And the ones that fall into, option one, obviously, are the ones that we can do and that make sense for us. But the only way we get those is feedback from our users and clients. And, those are things that we do every day. I look at this and, we're deploying and testing some pretty cool ideas right now. And like that's the fun part of my job is like playing detective and problem solving and saying how can we make this better for our clients, and then deploying those technological solutions into our tech stack. And that's the fun part, but it all comes back to getting data and feedback from the users of our product.
Yeah, that's great. I know that with accelerated automation, we teach people that the better that they can categorize a lead, the more valuable that data is. And so clearly you understand the value of the data as well. We encourage people within Agency Zoom to tag as much as they can categorize a lead, because then there's more research available for that. So you're right, that feedback on what you have to work with is excellent. So share with me what or who is your ideal client, because you said you are a little particular.
Yeah. So our clients are personal lines focused insurance agencies, that have a desire to grow their personal lines book of business, and have processes and procedures and staff in place, to execute that growth strategy. That is what we're looking for in a client. We don't have minimums or commitments or spends or anything like that. I talked to a client yesterday, who's a new agent, a new captive agent, and they're not going to spend a ton of money with us, but that's not what we look at. We look at, are they growth focused? And they're like, yeah, we're buying from 4 lead vendors now. We want to bring you in on a small slice of our lead spend, and then if it works, we'll expand. But they're not buying 5 leads a day. But even if they were, we would take them on as a client if they're growth focused and they have a strategy to grow, because that's where we can bring value. If you're, like, look, there's nothing wrong with this. It's just not a good fit for us. If someone's like, listen, I've got this employee, I just need them something to do. Like, I don't really care if it works or doesn't work, but I want them to call 10 people a day. So we're just going to make it work. And I don't have a CRM, and I'm not going to send you any disposition data back. And, this is just, I don't think it's going to work, but I'm willing to throw away $2,000 a month anyways. That's not someone we want to work with. We want to work with someone who will be data driven with us and focused, and has a desire to grow their business, and to get us the data we need back. Folks that use Agency Zoom, like your users and clients, it's really easy because we can just automate all of it. Send a lead to you, you'll send us the disposition back in an automated fashion. It works really nicely. We get it in real time. We can optimize in real time, and we can help you grow. Those are the folks we want to work with. It doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be someone, we work with people all the time who are like, we can't call the leads fast enough because we don't have the team internally to do that, right? We can partner them with we can give them recommendations for call centers to use or something to help them get a hold of those better, right? Effectively turning those data leads into warm transfers for them. We can help them with suggested automation if they let's say they use agency Zoom and can do like an immediate text message cadence or immediate call cadence, stuff like that. Those are the folks we want to work with that are going to be able to take the necessary action to be effective with our product. And the reason we do that is one, we want our clients to be successful. I mean, two, like we have a fundamental respect for money. We don't want to waste ours or other people's. And so if there's not going to be a return on someone's investment with us, right? Because that's what they're doing. They're investing in marketing with us. And if we feel there's not going to be a return from them, we just, we'll say, hey, listen, we don't think we're a good fit. We're happy to give you some ideas and help you and give you some of our clients to talk to who execute these strategies really well. And then, when you're ready, we'll be here and ready to work with you. But if you don't have the infrastructure today, it gets really tricky.
Okay, let's switch gears here. I've got a TCPA compliance question for you. So,
Yeah.
how is that text call consent being documented? Does the consent include the agent buying the leads? Can the agent get a copy of it for their records?
Yeah. Compliance consent, there was something that was going on where the FCC developed a rule over a year ago. It was going to go into effect this January that said that particular agent, it was called one-to-one consent. We can only have one company name on the lead form. And that's the only company that can call the lead. The 11th Circuit Court of Appeals, literally I don't know, I think like 4 business minutes, like Friday at like 4:56 p.m., the Monday before it was going to go into effect, issued an opinion striking that down, saying the Federal Communication Commission did not have the authority to do that, and that the rule is void. Now, the National Consumer Law Center and I think like 18 state attorneys general are appealing that to the full 11th Circuit. But for now, that rule is not in effect as it stands. So to answer your question, there has to be certain things in that compliance disclosure. And one of those things is the name of the entity that is going to be called. That's often reflected on something called a marketing partners list, where it says like these people, and it links to another page that lists potentially thousands of people who could call that lead. And yeah, can an agent get a copy of that disclosure? Yes. And we will, agents who want that, we can work with them to effectually automatically get that through a vendor we work with. And yeah,
Are they getting texting consent up front?
On all the leads we sell, yeah, they're getting texting consent. They're getting pre-recorded call consent. They're getting artificial intelligence consent. So if you're using AI voice, they're getting consent for that. Those are things that we require on the lead forms for the leads we generate ourselves. Mariah had Eric Troutman on a webinar recently. We use Troutman and Mean as our TCPA counsel. So, we feel we're in very good hands with them is probably, I would say undisputably the number one compliance and TCPA defense firm in the country. And so we know we get good advice from them. And we know we're really good at implementing the advice they give us because, right, we want to stay out of TCPA, lawsuits just as much as our clients do, but also because we're obsessed with the consumer's experience too, right? The expectations should be clearly laid out for the consumer. I'm on the board of directors of a trade organization called the REACH, Responsible Enterprises Against Consumer Harassment, which Eric Troutman founded. And the reason I wanted to be on that was, one, clean up the lead generation industry. And two, we should treat people how we want to be treated. I mean, I don't want my phone blowing up for something I don't want to talk to somebody about, And I think that that's critically important. So we take TCPA compliance extraordinarily seriously. We're probably, I would say more conservative than most on it. But the reason we're conservative on it is it can cost people a lot of money, even if they make a simple mistake. But two, we should just be treating consumers the way we would want to be treated ourselves as consumers. It's just good business, makes the whole process easier, better. It makes it just less regulatory risk. And like, look, if lead generation industry as a whole had been more reasonable and rational, would the Federal Communication Commission had to have made this one-to-one consent rule to solve a problem that we could have solved ourselves if most of the players in this business weren't so greedy or weren't so silly or silly and sloppy with the practices they did. There's no reason that we should be texting a consumer, hundreds of times. There's no, and we talk to our clients about this. Someone told me, we called the first day, we call the lead every 27 minutes. And I was like, you're insane. Like, I'm just going to be honest with you. This is the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life. Like I'm not going to sell you leads under that call cadence because it's disrespectful to consumer. It's going to tank your results. Your phone numbers are going to get marked as spam. It's not going to materially increase your performance. Like you're not even tracking where this is. Like after a call like 6, do you see people answering on call 7? Well, we don't track it. We just figure the more calls the better. It's like, well, that's scary, and you're not being respectful to consumers, and you're also being very illogical with your entire business because you're not like actually tracking to say, hey, there's at this point, I'm just annoying people and there's no benefit to me. And if you're not doing that, like, what are you doing? So that's why we're so focused and so fixated on tracking the data all the time because it's critically important. And also, it just eliminates this regulatory risk. So we think the better we can be as an industry, the less the government will have to regulate us. Because we'll be doing the right things ourselves. And really, I think that should be the goal of every industry. Right government regulation comes because if you don't regulate yourself, the market will inevitably regulate you. The government will inevitably regulate you. So if we can take a respectful approach to consumers, I think that's what we need to do.
Well, we're running out of time here quickly. What's something that you want people to really remember, really understand about Lead Clinic?
Well, I think the most important thing is that I want people to understand is one, we take your results as the measure of our success, and I think that being good partners with you is what we look to. We want to be strategic partners. We want people who are going to help us be innovative and analyze and look at data, but to really say that we're the company that is going to deliver higher quality. Higher quality comes at a higher price. We work with agents sometimes who do a really, they've done interesting things under the market conditions they've lived in. And they're like, I buy a bunch of leads for like $2 and we have a whole system and we have a call center and we have 15 people and we call through them and it doesn't matter because they're so cheap, we can do it. That's not who we are, right? We're a high quality. Quality comes at a cost, but we believe that we're not focused on cost. And that's really always something we talk to our clients about. And this isn't because, one, it's not because we make more money if the cost is higher. We make a margin, all right? We make a small sliver of profit on the leads that we sell, right? And what that means to our clients and to us is that just because a lead's more expensive doesn't mean we're making more money. But what it does mean is the leads that are more expensive, we believe are going to have a higher chance to convert. And that's what we're focused on. So data analysis and value versus cost are the most important things that I want everyone to remember about us.
And how best do you want people to do business with you?
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're a prospective client and you think that we'd be a good fit to work with, the easiest way to get in touch with us, go to our website, leadclinic.com. There's a get started button there. You'll fill out some basic information about your agency, and then it'll bring up a calendar for one of our introduction calls. We host those generally 2 days a week, Tuesday mornings and Thursday afternoons, where you will be able to be on a small group call, usually 4 or 5 people. I'm always on those calls. And what we do is very easily, we go through our entire system, our entire process. We show you data, we show you results, aggregated results from all of our clients across the country, so that we set proper expectations of what you should expect when you're working with us. And then we begin our working relationship, and we then go through a whole, if you want to work with us, then we go through a whole onboarding call, where we set up everything tailored specifically to your agency. And then we measure those results over and over and over and over, and just constantly perfect the system. So that's the best way to get in touch with us, to start a dialogue about, if we'd be a good fit for you. And then once we establish that we are a good fit for you and you're a good fit for us, then we can begin working together really easily. And then we have continuous dialogue and conversation with our clients, often through email and support tickets, that we do through phone calls. And then, I love getting on Zoom with clients and just dissecting data, and figuring out ways to make them more successful. And that's how we work best with our clients.
So, what's in store for Lead Clinic? What's coming up that you're really excited about?
Yeah, so a lot of things. Right now we're working on generating more of our own leads, because we believe we control more of the process, that we'll be better at it than our competitors. We think that we're really good media buyers, and that we will, in fact, generate substantially more of the leads that we sell will be generated by us over the next 12 months than ever before. So we're excited for that, because we can get really innovative in that. Other things that we're working on always are technological improvements, data improvements to the process. But the biggest thing that's coming up, I think, is something that we've been slowly rolling out to our clients over the past week, and that will speed up here over the next few weeks, which is giving them full access to our data and analytics reporting suite, so they can see their data in real time, and then also can potentially correct data. Right, there are some systems that our clients use that aren't open API, and it's not challenging for us to get their data back. But it's not as easy as an open API system like Agency Zoom, let's say. And so at times there has to be a correction of a record, and they could do that real time in our database now. So if something, if we extracted a report from a system like Ricochet or, Allstate Lead Manager, and, it was improperly dispositioned, they can change that right in our database in real time, and they can look at that. We're also exploring ways we can enhance value to our agencies that we partner with by doing more of the data work for them. So let's say if they want to look at more of how many items did I sell per lead source, how much premium per lead source, we're giving them the ability to transfer us that data and or manually input that data in our system. And if they do, they'll be able to see a full suite of reports that shows that data. For customers that use open API systems like Agency Zoom, we could potentially also do that data for your other lead vendors as well. We don't expect to be your only lead vendor. I mean, I'm honest and pragmatic with everyone. We expect you to work with other vendors. It's what I would do if I were in your business, what I did when I was in your business. And so for systems like Agency Zoom, we could easily track the performance of your other vendors as well, because we could simply import those records into our database, assign them to your account, assign them with a value of X lead vendor, and then let you see your performance, because we think we want you to rate our performance against our competitors because we believe it'll be better. We believe it should be better. And then if it's not, right, a couple things. We expect you, right, to not do business with us if we're not performing well for you. That'll help us get innovative and continuously do better. But we want to stack rank our results against our competitors because we want you to run a sophisticated business, right? You should be investing your marketing dollars wisely. And if you don't know your data, you're just throwing money and hoping it works. That's not like a really good business strategy. So those are the things we're doing to help bring more value to the agencies we work with.
Oh, that's wonderful. That sounds like a good journey, a good plan that you've got in store for you. Well,
Fun,
on
yeah.
that note, we're going to wrap things up. Thanks again for being with us. And just as a reminder, you can go to leadclinic.com. We're happy to bring this expert webinar series to all of you. We will have another one in 2 weeks. So stay tuned in our social media to see what that one's going to be about. Thanks so much, Peter. We appreciate you.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to join you.